Well, a fitting discussion after Sukratal, the place where Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken, might be either to hear some details about Shukadev, or here we're going to be hearing more details about Mahārāja Parīkṣit, a very important personality because of Mahārāja Parīkṣit and his capacity, his capability of receiving transcendental knowledge. He's the recipient of the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, so we could hear, and the exchange between him and Shukadev is very sublime. I'll say in advance, there's a little text here that says, who Mahārāja Parīkṣit was before he was Mahārāja Parīkṣit is unknown. Somehow, by his capacity, by his acumen, Narada Muni understood the child is a great devotee. And Krishna understood the child was a great devotee, so Krishna protected him because he's the protector of all the Pandavas, but he particularly protected him. And even before he was born, even before, like Dhruva, anyway, it's not like Shukadev Goswami, who heard Srimad Bhagavatam, or rather, he received transcendental knowledge through his association with Vyas. But what happened to Mahārāja Parīkṣit? How did he become the exalted devotee? There's no, I'm mentioning it because I'm expecting someone's going to ask. That's why I'm mentioning it. Who was he before he was? So, different names of Mahārāja Parīkṣit based upon qualities or qualifications or characteristics. So his name Parīkṣit, the examiner, because when he was still in the womb, he was protected by the personality of Godhead. So when he was out, where is this protector examining? Is this him? Who is the Supreme? So his inquisitiveness indicates his name, or his name indicates his inquisitiveness. Here's a nice verse, Canto 1, Chapter 12, describing this. We'll hear a number of verses from Chapter 12. Parīkṣit is the examiner because he constantly contemplated the Lord whom he had seen in the womb and searched for him among all men. He was famous as Parīkṣit, the examiner in this world. So this illustration is showing that while in the womb of his mother, not only the Brahmastra weapon released by Ashvatthama was checked, but specifically it was checked by the Supreme Personality of God, who showed himself to Mahārāja Parīkṣit while still in the womb. So he's looking, is this him? Is this him? And therefore, anudhyaya, he constantly contemplated. So he was very Krishna conscious. Later on, in Bhagavad Gita, we hear some further description about Arjuna, Canto 10, Chapter 86. So Arjuna kidnapped Subhadra. Why was Arjuna way over on that side, the Dwarka side of India? There's a little history. It says here, I'm going to recount the history of his 1-year pilgrimage. If you remember, it was the same pilgrimage that was preceded by his relationship with Ulupi. And then the son was born, who later became a hero one of the heroes in Mahabharata war. But the scene was there in they're incognito. No, not incognito. They're in their exile stage, and the Pandavas, by the arrangement of Kunti, that each one of the 5 Pandavas would be with Kunti for 1 month, and the other 4 brothers would not interfere, or what did I say? Oh, excuse me. At least you're awake. Draupadi. Kunti said Draupadi should be with each one of the husbands for a month. So, the circumstance you heard already. There was a problem. And the problem was some dacoits had taken the cows of a Brahmana. And the Brahmana came to Arjuna, help. Please get back my cows. So Arjuna, ready to defend and protect, went to get his weapons. And then he forgot his weapons are in the room where Arjuna and Draupadi, where Yudhishthira and Draupadi were. So he went ahead, and better to be in difficulty because of this than leave Brahmanas in distress. So he got the weapons and got the cows back. The Brahmanas were very happy. And then he came before Yudhishthira saying, I broke the word of our mother. I need to purify myself for this offense, and back and forth discussion, and Arjuna went. Yudhishthira was saying, you acted properly. There was this, and then there's something that emergency supersedes this. You did the right thing. I violated the word of our mother. I need purification. Tapasya. So his tapasya was visiting holy places for a year, and circumstances. So towards the end of the year, he's all the way over in Dwarka, near Dwarka, and Krishna sent a message about, why don't you come pay me a visit, but you have to be unknown because the circumstances, because my brother Balaram wants our sister Subhadra to marry someone else. And she doesn't want to marry the someone else, but she may want to marry you. So if you come incognito and she becomes attracted to you and you become attracted to her, then maybe we can work something out. So anyway, all of that happened, and an arrangement was made where a note from Subhadra to Arjuna how he could marry her, or specifically, how he could kidnap her. And so, much to Balaram's surprise and chagrin, that's what happened. And then there's a detail. Arjuna already had some attraction for Subhadra, so when this message from Krishna came, he liked the idea, because he had already heard about Subhadra from one of his cousins. And one of his cousins, named Gada, was a student of Dronacharya along with Arjuna and others, and Gada happened to mention Subhadra. So he was already, Subhadra, ra. And then some suggestion from Krishna. So it was like green light. But anyway, so as a result of the combination of Subhadra and Arjuna, there was a son. And the son's was Abhimanyu. And by the time they're in this incognito, or Virat Raja's kingdom, Agyatavas, Arjuna is the dance teacher of his the king's daughter. And when it came to be known, this is not just a dance teacher, this is one of the Pandavas. He wanted to offer his daughter in Uttara in marriage to Arjuna. And Arjuna said, a teacher can't marry his student. That's not our system. But I have a son who is old enough to be the husband of your daughter. And if you like, he can marry your daughter. So with that arrangement, Abhimanyu became married to Uttara. And through passage of time, this incognito phase, the war begins. Abhimanyu is now 16 years old. He was married when he was 16. It's a different system today, but he was married when he was 6. Not only girls were married young, but even in this case, he was before 16 when he was married. In any case, he's married. And Uttara is his wife, and already Uttara is pregnant when the battlefield of Parīkṣit. She's the mother of Mahārāja Parīkṣit, the unborn, the posthumous son. On the 13th day of this 18-day battle, that's when Abhimanyu was killed because he was too heroic. So they ganged up on him. 7 generals, not just 7 men, 7 soldiers, but 7 generals in different directions. It's a whole, the Jayadrath story. Jayadrath held back the Pandavas while the generals killed him. And Arjuna took a vow, I'm going to kill Jayadrath tonight or tomorrow before the sun sets, or I'll enter into fire. So Uttara was pregnant, and when when Ashvatthama later sent his Brahmastra weapon, the invincible, we always hear, Brahmastra is invincible. There's no weapon that can counteract a Brahmastra weapon. But Krishna himself is capable. So when the Brahmastra was firing after Mahārāja Parīkṣit, who's helpless in the womb, there shows his eyes are open. Generally children, anyway, his eyes are open. He's seeing the Brahmastra. Look at that figure on the lower right side. That's apparently what a Brahmastra looks like. Some kind of an arrow that is firing. So here's the statement. In his previous life, Parīkṣit was a great devotee by many indications. And, the indications, for example, when he was born, the astrology chart indicated this and that and the other thing and the other thing. It's super, super, super exalted, but it's unknown. At least I've been not able to find who was he before he was Mahārāja Parīkṣit. When the Brahmastra was coming swiftly to kill Mahārāja Parīkṣit within the plan of Ashvatthama was all the descendants. He thought this was a nice arrangement for the Kauravas. All the descendants, the Pandavas' descendants, would be killed. So the 5 sleeping sons and the grandson. Here's the reported prayer from, this is Kunti's prayers, what Uttara prayed to Krishna. Oh my Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally if you so desire, but please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. I mean, she had to do some fast talking because there's a Brahmastra, an arrow, heading towards her. I don't know how she did all this, but she did it. So one of the names or the qualities of Mahārāja Parīkṣit is viraha, a great natural courage. Matur garbhagato vira jayamanostra tejasa. Because of his natural courage, he was not afraid of the fire of the Brahmastra weapon. And there Krishna showed himself and protected Mahārāja Parīkṣit, well, even before he was born, while still in the womb of his mother. So great devotee, protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Another one of the names of Mahārāja Parīkṣit is Vishnu Rata. Vishnu Rata, one who is always protected by Vishnu Rata. And here's a little description from that same Canto 1, Chapter 12. It's a whole discussion about Mahārāja Parīkṣit in Chapter 12. There's two types of protection. This is Prabhupada's purport. Referring to the Katha Upanishad, they're just people in general, different grades of living beings, and according to those grades of living beings, protection is offered, like the father offers protection to his offspring. But there's a second kind of protection, that's directly giving protection, personally giving protection for the devotees of Krishna. And certainly that's what happened with Mahārāja Parīkṣit. Some other names: Bharata, descendant of Bharata. Notice the difference of spelling. Bharata and Bharata. Do you remember the Bharata personality? We're going to see some nice pictures of him again. From the time he was very little, he was very beautiful. Of course, many people think children are beautiful anyways, whatever they look like. Very beautiful and very powerful. And so powerful that his play toys were lions and tigers. So that's Bharata. And then he is, so the same. O scion of Bharata, like Krishna's addressing Arjuna. It's Bharata is in the line of a previous king. Bharata becomes Bharata. Anyway, descendant of Bharata. Then Vrika Nrishu, tiger amongst men, directly found in Canto 1, Chapter 18. Here's another one of these charts that the letters are too small so you can't read what it's saying. But I'll point a few things out. There's Draupadi and children from Arjuna and Draupadi, children from Arjuna and Yudhishthira, children from Bhima and Draupadi. So these three brothers with Draupadi produced 5 sons. Their names are here. Then Arjuna with Subhadra, here's Abhimanyu and his wife Uttara. And the combination of Abhimanyu and Uttara produced Parīkṣit as their son. And Parīkṣit had his wife Madravati, and Janamejaya became the successor. That's this name down here, Janamejaya. So when Mahārāja Parīkṣit was ready to turn the kingdom over, Janamejaya became the next king. And then the family tree that goes way back up to Kuru. We spent some time with Kuru and Kurukshetra. So he's way up here, and we're way down here. So family lines Personally, I get confused. I get confused easily. But it's really easy for me to get confused with family trees and names and this connection with that connection and so on. But if it doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry, we're in the same boat. The time when he was born was a very important moment because Yudhisthira wanted to know, he's the successor to the throne. He's the grandson, but he's successor to the throne. So what are his qualities? Is he going to represent the lineage? Is he going to be a qualified king? So there's a whole big description. That's what the main part of what this class is going to be. There was a big, big festival, giving of charity, and then the astrologer was invited to do his astrological chart. And here's Yudhisthira's question, asking the astrologers, "O great souls, will he be a saintly king, as pious as his very name, Parīkṣit, as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family?" And then the response comes. Here's some of the names. Tasman Namna Vishnurata. This child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. O most fortunate one, that's the astrologers to Yudhisthira. There is no doubt that this child will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. Sounds promising. But there's a very long section. That was verse number 17. And then here's some of the things the learned brahmanas or astrologers said. This child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku, son of Manu. Manu means Vaibhasvata Manu, and his son Ikshvaku, in maintaining all those who are born. So he maintains and protects his citizens. As for the following the Brahminical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Mahārāja Dasarath. So then here's some details further elaborating on that point. Exactly like Ikshvaku in maintaining praja. So one of the duties in maintaining praja is protecting them. So the example, as you see in the painting, this is the personality of Kali breaking the legs of a bull, and when Mahārāja Parīkṣit was on tour and he happened to see this, he immediately drew his sword and was ready to chop this person. A poor cow was about to be killed by the personified Kali, whom he took at once to task as a murderer. So the indication is even animals were protected by saintly kings, and Mahārāja Parīkṣit was such a saintly king. Parallels to Lord Ramachandra. 2. First, Ramachandra was sent in exile. Mahārāja Parīkṣit was also. He had a curse, and he accepted the curse. He didn't try to neutralize the curse or counteract the curse or anything like that. He just accepted that the Supreme Father Krishna wants, and so I'll accept it. And although there are ways, what those ways are, I don't know, but it's said there are ways to neutralize such a curse, but he didn't invoke that, he just accepted it, which Ramachandra also accepted. That down below, there were demons that Ramachandra dealt with, who were here and there in the course of his travels and his activities, and he dealt with the demons in this way, that way. Similarly, Mahārāja Parīkṣit utilized his curse to vanquish the suffering of anyone by facilitate the advent of Srimad Bhagavatam. That wasn't like his intention, but that was a byproduct or an outcome. That is, Shukadeva Goswami came and spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, so that even today, his acceptance, Mahārāja Parīkṣit's acceptance of this curse of the young Brahmin boy, we're reaping the benefit by his accepting that difficulty. Then the astrologers go on. This child will be a munificent donor of charity and protector of the surrendered, like the famous King Shibi. Now, in case you don't know much about King Shibi, we're going to describe about King Shibi a little bit. But it's when you hear the name Shibi, immediately it should come. He was very charitable. I'm tempted to show you. It's a very, very nice. Oh, here's the picture. Very nice picture. Here's Shibi. And on Shibi's hand, a bird landed. And the idea was, it was the fire god, Agni, and the king of heaven, Indra, wanted to examine the extent of Shibi's charity. So the fire god assumed the form of a pigeon, and the pigeon landed on Shibi's arm. And the hawk was Indra, or eagle, and eagle came to take advantage of his food, the pigeon. And there was some dialogue between the eagle and Shibi. And he said, please give me this pigeon, it's my meal. And he negotiated. He said, if you had some other flesh besides the pigeon flesh, would that satisfy you? Yes. What if I gave you some of my own flesh? So he gave some of his own flesh. And that was proof positive to Indra, who then revealed this eagle form is me, Indra. You pleased me very much. The king began to cut flesh from his body, the weight of the pigeon. It looks like a pretty plump pigeon there, too. And by mystic power, the pigeon kept getting heavier and heavier. The king then put himself on the balance. And Indra was like, wow, you're a charitable king. So the prophecy, the astrological prophecy was he would be charitable like King Shibi. Now, going back, as religious as Mahārāja Yayati. Now, Mahārāja Yayati was a king in the same line, the family line, the Chandra dynasty line, and he'll be as religious as. So let's go a little bit to the as religious as. There's Yayati, and his elder brother was not interested in becoming king. There were 5 additional brothers. Yayati was the eldest of the 5 additional. Yayati became the next king because his elder brother declined. And then the 4 other brothers, they assisted him. And something unfortunate happened. There's always a problem. And so the problem that happened was, one fine day he was in the forest, and there were a group of girls. One of the girls was the daughter of Shukracharya. Who's Shukracharya? Guru of the demons. Yeah. So the girls were having fun and bathing, and along came Lord Shiva and Parvati, and they were naked in a bathing place. And so they got really nervous and shy, and they rustled, hurried to put on their garments. And Devyani, the daughter, I hope I get the names, the sequence correct. She put on her friend Sarmishta's clothes. You know, and Sarmishta got miffed. Sarmishta insulted her this way, that way, and pushed her into a blind well. And there she was, Devyani in the bottom of a blind well. The other way around, Sarmishta fell in the well? Yes? Sarmishta fell in the well. I think it's okay. I won't tell the whole story because we're disagreeing with who fell in the well. One of the two friends fell in the well, and the king, Yayati, just happened to pass by and saw this girl at the bottom of the well. So he rescued her from the bottom of the well, and the girl, whichever her name was, said, "Thanks. Now you're going to marry me, right? Because you touched my hand and you should marry me." And he was like, "What? I'd saved you from the well, but I have to marry you?" And so it was arranged. And then the arrangement was the one who will be always serving me will be the other girl whose name we got them mixed up. Sarmishta Devyani. I'm sorry, the story gets all messed up. So he married the one, and the other one was, a role reversal. Say it again? Yeah. You argue with him, please. Okay. Okay. Shanti. Anyway, a whole range of difficulties happened where, yeah, that's right. Shukracharya said, "You can marry my daughter, but the condition is that there shouldn't be, don't have any dealings with Sarmishta." Well, sure enough, there was not only dealings with Sarmishta, but there were children born between the king, Yayati, and Sarmishta. And when Devyani found out that her dear friend Sarmishta is also pregnant from her husband, she went to Daddy. And Daddy cursed Yayati. "You, this and that, you lived in a decrepit body as an old age man." So Yayati's not able to be an enjoyer anymore because he's this old man. So he already had several sons from these two personalities, Devyani and Sarmishta. So he approached them, and none of them said yes, except one. And he accepted the old age of his father from the curse of Shukracharya. So that's this text, the king who bargained time to enjoy material pleasures. He got a young body again, and he enjoyed. Or material enjoyment is not really what enjoyment is. And after some time, he realized there's no enjoyment here. And so eventually Yayati voluntarily ceased from material desires and attained liberation. So he turned over his age, he turned over his youth to his son that gave his youthfulness, gave it back to his son, and went into a secluded place where he engaged in the meditation upon Vasudev. And according to the Bhagavatam, which is a different ending than Mahabharata, he attained the spiritual realm, an associate of the Lord, in the language of the Bhagavatam. In the language of the Mahabharata, he, along with Shibi, he attained heaven. According to the Bhagavatam, he attained the abode of the Supreme Lord. Different versions. Okay, so back to, there's these astrological projections or predictions that he'll have religiosity like Yayati. Let's go back. And here's this prophecy. He will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharata, the son of Mahārāja Dushyanta and Shakuntala. Now, this is presuming a lot of things, and to tell the whole story of Shakuntala and Dushmanta it will take too long. But they had a son, and the son is pictured here. His name was Bharata, and because Bharata was so powerful, I mean, he didn't fight with lions, he just played with them. At least that's what the Bhagavatam says. Like a child may play with toys, or a child may play with a little puppy or a little kitten. So he played with lions and tigers like that. And so much so that the rishis, seeing his way of doing things, they gave him a nickname, Sarva Damana. He can dominate everyone. So this grandson of yours, Mahārāja Parīkṣit, will be like Bharata, very, very powerful. Partial incarnation of Mahavishnu, according to that description from the 9th Canto Bhagavatam. He'll have an aspect like Arjuna, his grandfather. Among great bowmen, the child will be as good as Arjuna. That's saying a lot. As good as Arjuna in bowmanship. Who's that? Mahārāja Parīkṣit. So he's very gifted. He'll be as irresistible as fire, as unsurpassable as the ocean, as strong as a lion, as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountains. We already heard about the Himalaya mountains. Forbearing like the earth, as tolerant as a mother and father towards their child. So the question of Yudhishthira is, he wants to know, is he going to be a good king? He's just a little, goo-goo gaga baby, just freshly born. And is he going to become a good king? He will be like his grandfather Yudhishthira, or Brahma, in equanimity of mind, munificent like the Lord of the Kailash hill, Shiva, almost as good as Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps, as magnanimous as King Rantidev. So we'll spend a little bit of time with Rantidev, because he's less known than some of these other personalities. In the purport, in each of the way that Prabhupada has structured his Bhaktivedanta purports, all of these names and characteristics there's a little section within the purport, then another little section, then a little section. So if you want to know the details, you know where to go now. 1:12:24. 1:12:24. Like Bali Mahārāja in patience. Like Prahlād Mahārāja in devotion. Wow, he's going to be a great king. So he became a great king. The painting here is depicting one of the days that Rantidev was very qualified, and one of his qualifications was he liked to engage in austerities, and then the fruits and the benefits to be derived from those austerities would be dedicated to his citizens. Under his strength, the citizens would have merit. So he engaged in a fast for 48 days. Don't try it. 48 days, nothing. No water, no food, nothing. And then on the next day, following the 48th day, the 49th day, they made a big feast for him. Not a big feast. This isn't like a big king's feast, but enough so he could break the fast. And when he started to break the fast, then you see in the upper left-hand corner, Lord Brahma and Lord Indra and different demigods, they appeared before him in disguise just to examine or test his generosity, because he was renowned as being very generous, very, very charitable. So just as he was about to eat, a Sudra came. I'm hungry, can I have something? Just as so he didn't break the fast yet, 48-day fast. His first business was he took half of what he had and gave half to the Sudra. And then the other half, he started to break the fast. And just as he was about to break the fast, another guest came. And the other guest that came was a fellow that had puppies. You see the puppies on the left side? My puppies are hungry. No problem, take the other half. Then there was water. So some fellow came and, I'm thirsty. And Rantidev was celebrating how fortunate to be able to make this sacrifice for others, because that's how he felt. The whole thing was for the benefit of his citizens anyways. It wasn't merit to himself so he could get something material. It was benefit for his citizens and maintaining the citizens by his own merit. So, in other words, Rantidev was an exceptional charitable person, magnanimous person, and this grandson of yours will be like that. He'll have the patience of Bali Mahārāja. You all know the story. But the basic, the painting here is, after being requested by the dwarf Brahmana, dwarf means he has little short legs, 3 paces of land. And the king said, 3 paces of land, look at your legs. He said, that's all I need. So when after the poking his toe with a second step through the covering of the universe, his legs got really big. Where to place the third? You promised me 3 paces of land. Place it on my head. He placed his foot on his head, but he also said, tie him up. So there he is, tied up and bound like a criminal, like an animal. And then different personalities came, and they were saying, what he's just done is wrong. He just surrendered everything, and you're tying him up and treating him like a criminal. This isn't right. But Bali Mahārāja, then Vamana spoke and said, I just wanted to show you all the character, the internal character of Bali Mahārāja. Just see. You're whining and complaining, and he wasn't at all. I promised 3, and he only was able to give 2. So I'm to be punished. I didn't keep my word. Anyway. So that was his position, his mood. Patience like that of Bali Maharaj. Devotion like Prahlad Maharaj, that is completely fixed on the personality of Godhead despite these different attempts to take his life by his unpleasant father. And back to Mahārāja Parīkṣit within the womb. After hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by the son of a Brahmana, he'll get himself free from all material attachment. This is when he's just just born. They're telling what's going to happen, how he's going to die. He's going to die from this snake bird bite. And he's going to be unchanged. This is the nature of your son. After inquiring about proper self-knowledge from the son of Vyasadeva, who's the son of Vyasadeva? Shukadeva. So after inquiring from Shukadeva about self-knowledge, who will be a great philosopher, he'll renounce all material attachments and achieve a life of fearlessness. So this is like, what a forecast. Is he going to be a good king? Mahārāja Parīkṣit was naturally inclined to Lord Krishna from his childhood. This is a separate section. By the way, we're around halfway through of this presentation. So Jiva Goswami makes comment, and does Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that even in his childhood, so this is when he's just born, now in his childhood, he imitated Krishna's pastimes, which means he knew Krishna's pastimes. And he not only knew them, but he enacted dramas with Krishna's pastimes. Sridhar Swami says, or writes, that there was a family deity of Krishna, and he would imitate the worship of the family deity of Krishna by his elders. So he has all these high characteristics, and he is a Krishna conscious little boy. And some of the other characters, here's 4. His kingly responsibilities, his life adversities, that's a good way of testing someone's character. How do they meet crises? Their giving and receiving saintly association and meeting death. These 4 are all very powerful. So, kingly duties, many important items. Mahārāja Parīkṣit then conquered all parts of the earthly planet. Lists the names of the places. And exacted tributes from their respective rulers. So there were rulers of the world, and he's the emperor. But it wasn't just like, you guys pretend that you're the rulers of the world, and I pretend that I'm the emperor. He went and confronted them. If you don't accept, then let's have some battle. So, and on this tour situation, he had to protect this classic BBT painting. There was this personality of Kali, and he was breaking the legs of a bull with a club, and 3 of the legs were broken. This our classic, the 4 regular principles, and the Dharma is supported by, the Dharma of the bull is supported by 4 legs. And 3 of the 4 legs were broken already. And he's whacking away at the 4th leg. And Mahārāja Parīkṣit saw this, and he had his sword drawn, ready to chop him. And so, everyone knows the story. Kali understood, I can't mess around. This king is powerful. So he took shelter, he surrendered to him, and said, please spare my life. So one who takes shelter of a qualified king has their life spared. But, give me a place to live. So you can live in the place where these 4 sinful activities go on, but there's no such place in your kingdom. So give me a place to live. And then Mahārāja Parīkṣit said, very well, wherever there's hoarding of gold, there'll be these 4 sinful activities. So you can stay there. So that's personality of Kali's residence, where it's hoarding of gold and the 4 sinful activities. So there's different paintings indicating the same. The 4 regular principles on the painting on the right, the painting on the left, same also. I mean, the way that it shows gambling on the left is like the dice game. And the one on the right, it shows just like a poker table or something. And the other regular principles. As a king, he's the protector of the praja, thus prajapati. And even when there's great crisis. And Mahārāja Parīkṣit was, when he met with Shukadeva Goswami, it wasn't just about himself, how do I save my backside? He wanted to know from Shukadeva Goswami, what should I do as a king or would-be king to give protection to all persons, especially one who's about to die? Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Now, who's going to ask this? In moments before their death, but that's Mahārāja Parīkṣit. He has concern for the welfare of the citizens. He's the king, so the king is responsible, not irresponsible, for the welfare of all the citizens. Second point is how to, when you're faced with, this is a very standard way. When somebody is faced with life-threatening situations, or adversity at least, how do you respond? So in his case, he responded by, I made a big offense, I offended a king, and a brahmana, and I put a snake around his neck, because he didn't say Haribol. Wow. He didn't offer water and a place to sit, the common courtesies of receiving a king. Of course, he's a brahmana, that's okay. But brahmanas observe these etiquettes, and he did nothing. So he insulted him by placing the serpent around his neck. Dead serpent that was lying outside the hermitage of the sage. And then his son came to know. And when his son came to know, he was shocked. And so he cursed the king to die. You know the story. And he went to tell his father, I cursed the king to die, because he put the snake bird around your neck. And then the father, knowing that his son had made this curse, he felt terrible. But, how do you take the curse back? It's already done. So he went to inform Mahārāja Parīkṣit, I think you should know you're going to die in 7 days, because my son cursed you like this. To become angry, here's Prabhupada's commentary, to become angry in such grave circumstance is not unnatural for a king, because the king himself was no less than a great saint. His becoming angry and taking action were astonishing. So it must be accepted that it was so ordained by the supreme will of the Lord. In other words, Mahārāja Parīkṣit was capable of fasting for 7 days. And he's out hunting, and he's so thirsty, he can't control his thirst. And when he doesn't give him some water by the sage that's in samadhi, he gets angry. What's that? It's out of character behavior. So that means that deductively, he, the king, Mahārāja Parīkṣit, was induced to have this little spell by the personality of Godhead Krishna, so that the whole pastime could be enacted. The will of the Supreme Lord. And when he was cursed, here's Prabhupada's quote: even if you have got a good kingdom, very nice wife, very nice society, how long? And if there's any mistake next life, you can get something else. But Parīkṣit's life, from childhood, he's a devotee of Krishna. So, narrating, he didn't become terribly upset when the Brahmana came to inform the king what had happened. The king was repentant. The Brahmanas repent. My son went off and did this terrible thing, but I think you should know you're going to die in 7 days. And so he felt not like, I want to get back at that little boy. He felt this is just, and I should prepare myself. So he prepared himself by turning the kingdom over to his eldest son and detached himself from the world and accepted the outcome as the will of providence. This is just showing his character. When you face adversity, how do you respond, inside and outside? What's your speech and your conduct when adversity comes? I mean, it's a rare person. Bhakti is tested by, this Prabhupada's words, by rubbing. And what's the quality of this metal? You rub the metal and you see what the quality of the metal is. So this was the curse given to him. He accepted. He could counteract it. Mahārāja Parīkṣit was a Vaishnava. He was very powerful, but he thought, yes, I'm an offender. The Brahmana boy has cursed me. I shall accept it. And when he acted in that way, the reciprocation from the personality of Godhead came in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, instructed by Shukadeva Goswami. And of course, others were in the vicinity to hear Shukadeva Goswami speak. He prepared himself for death for 7 days. He placed himself on the bank of the Ganges. Now over here it says Jamuna, and over there it says Ganges, and take your pick. You decide, you can decide for yourself. Without a drop of water for 7 days continually, he heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami. 7 days consecutively, continuously, non-stop. That means Shukadeva Goswami was also up for 7 days. But he's a Brahmin. And this is a Kshatriya. When he was assured of his death, this is Canto 1, Chapter 19, not the same section, he became more determined in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna by complete fasting on the bank of the transcendental river Yamuna. Take your pick. Which flows down by the capital of Hastinapur. Next to, this is Jiva Goswami's commentary, next to Kurukshetra, in the northern part of the adjoining forest, is Shukratal, along the Ganges, where Shukadeva sat beneath a banyan tree in the midst of 80,000 sages and spoke the Bhagavatam to King Parīkṣit. So here's Jiva Goswami's commentary, Jamuna. That the king took shelter on the bank of the Yamuna appears to be more accurate because of the geographical situation. Mahārāja Parīkṣit resided in the capital, Hastinapur, and the river Yamuna flows down past that city. naturally the king would take shelter of the river, Yamuna, because she was flowing past his palace door. Reasonable. You all are the judge and jury. Go ahead, decide. Third canto, chapter 13. The goal of a person engaged in hearing scripture from the Guru for a long time, praised by the great devotees, is hearing the glories of those in whose hearts Mukunda resides. So certainly he, Mahārāja Parīkṣit, was guided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead situated in his heart, including, making a mess up, so that the Srimad Bhagavatam could be narrated and he can go back to Godhead, and here we are so many thousands of years later, receiving the benefit of his having heard Srimad Bhagavatam. We're almost finished. This is a little section, Response to Saintly Association. This is the first and ongoing step in Paradharma. So, Sadhu Sangha, that's that little phrase. Sadhu Sangha, saintly association. And preliminary is faith, but with that preliminary faith in Sadhu Sangha, then everything else potentially can follow. So again, the same question. 7 days and 7 nights absorbed in Bhagavatam, not even a drop of water, and he became overwhelmed by thirst. To put a snake around a sadhu who was in samadhi? Really? That's not him. It's something else. It's Krishna. And then the curse, fearless. Acceptance with no fear. And here's a prayer at the end of chapter 19. Again, offering obeisances unto all you Brahmanas, I pray that if I should again take my birth in the material world, I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, association with his devotees, and friendly relations with all living beings. He's greedy, right? I have heard from you this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the perfect summary of all the Puranas, and which perfectly describe the Supreme Lord, Uttama Shloka. My Lord, I now have no fear of Takshaka or any other living being, or even repeated deaths, because I have absorbed myself in that purely spiritual absolute truth which you have revealed and which destroys all fear. So there he is, kneeling before Shukadeva Goswami, speaking these words. Again, we see who's who in the audience there. Very obvious is Narada, because he's got the veena over his shoulder. Oh, Brahmana, please give me permission to resign my speech and the functions of all my senses unto Lord Adhokshaja. He's like Monavrata and going completely internal. Then here's a little cartoonish way of indicating, again, Kasyapa was approaching with this medicine to neutralize poison, and the Takshaka took on the shape of a Brahmana. He asked Kashyapa, where you headed? He said where he was headed. So you can neutralize poison, huh? So a serpent bit a tree, the tree burned into ashes because the poison of the serpent was so intense, and Kashyapa did his thing, and the ashes revived the life of the tree. So that was evidence to the serpent, Takshaka, that Kashyapa knows his stuff. And I have the assignment of killing Mahārāja Parīkṣit. So he made a deal. I'll give you more dakshin than Mahārāja Parīkṣit would give you. Just, don't go there. So that's the painting on the right. There's Kashyapa with this big pot of gold, and there's Takshika biting Mahārāja Parīkṣit, and everyone's all distressed. But Mahārāja Parīkṣit goes back home, back to Godhead, because his mind is fixed upon the personality of Godhead, despite the rest of the circumstance surrounding the whole narration. Took a long time, an hour and 15 minutes. We have another 15 minutes. If you'd like to have some discussion on these topics, we can go forward with some discussion. It takes patience for you all to sit through all this and stay awake and alert and be happy, and try putting together 14 of these presentations one day and see what happens.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the nice class. I have appreciation and a question. Mahārāja Parīkṣit is compared to Mahārāja Sibi in his magnanimity.
Yeah.
I always was very appreciative of Mahārāja Parīkṣit's quality of renouncing everything and not counteracting the curse. The flip of a coin, he just walked away from everything. He was at the prime of his youth. He was riding the tide, so to speak. He was pretty detached.
It's character. And it has everything to do with acceptance of Krishna and the plan of Krishna. But, for us, we don't have that capacity. Is this Krishna's plan, or is this something else, or something else, or something else? And we're puzzled. He wasn't.
The question I have, Maharaj, is that when you describe the qualities of Mahārāja Parīkṣit in comparison to different personalities from history, there was discussion about at least some pastimes of these personalities which glorified that characteristic. For example, Mahārāja Sibi, how he was magnanimous. My question is, in terms of Mahārāja Yayati, it was puzzling that he was religious, because when I read the pastime, I didn't understand.
He was attached, but he overcame the attachment.
So, the question is, which...
Emphasis is upon his religiosity.
Right. So,
and a religious person can also be attached, especially when they overcome their attachment. And the degree to which he overcame his attachment was, he said thank you to his son that gave him his youth and gave his old age to his son, so his son could become, that son became the next king. And the other sons that said no, they became subordinate to the king that said yes, for the son that said yes. So, religiosity. And then ultimately going through this and that and the next, leading to detachment. Following Dharma leading to detachment. That's my understanding. And, detachment to this stage of perfection.
Thank you, Maharaj.
That was easy. You sure don't want to make it more difficult? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for the nice presentation. I have appreciation to Parīkṣit Maharaj regarding the same, seeing Lord's plan at the and in his adversities, handling those things. I have a little question regarding is there any subtle difference between the charitability and magnanimity? Because
They're
two
very
separate
similar.
persons.
You're looking for a distinction in definition between those two terms. That's what you're looking for. And they're very similar. Probably in a thesaurus or some, text that shades of meanings of this word, that word, there's probably a big overlap that may be in some cases synonymous. So don't worry about it. All the way in the back. All the way. Can you read the screen from sitting way back there? Kind of, huh?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, very nice presentation. Yesterday we were talking about cursing and counter-cursing in the Daksh Prajapati's pastime.
Shoo, yeah.
And one of the curse, if I remember correctly, was the Brahmana will never be opulent in a Kali Yuga. And the second item was that Brahmana's curse will never apply or never work in Kali Yuga. Now here we have a Brahmana son who cursed Parīkṣit Maharaj. How do we reconcile that? How do we understand that?
Krishna's will. Rules are rules. And rules come from the rule maker. And the rule maker can be the rule breaker. By Krishna's arrangement, anything can happen. Despite a rule. You have another explanation? You like that one? You're not sure? You're not sure, okay.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the nice class.
I couldn't follow. He just said, basically Hari Bol, right? Okay. Okay. You're welcome. Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, one observation and one question. King Rantideva's self-sacrifice for his citizens
Yes.
was similar to King Kuru's that I thought.
Yes.
Both committed.
Yes.
The question is about the slide which said patient like Bali Maharaj, that quality.
He was tested and he remained very calm.
So is that the kind of patience in the Tatte Nukampa or something, that just patiently waiting to liberate, or is it? I never associated patience with that pastime, which is why I'm asking.
Well, somebody else did. The persons who were giving the prognosis about his future life, they did. So they saw what Bali, what Vamana saw was his bhakti. And someone else may see his patience. Even he was after, because that's what some of the complainers said. He surrendered everything and he's being dealt with like a criminal, tied up, bound this and that. And no, that's not right. But, Bali didn't flinch. He wasn't whining and complaining like that. Wait a minute, I gave everything and you're treating me this way. He remained unchanged, patient. It's a way to look at. There's other ways to look at. His bhakti was so strong. Tatte nukampam. Whatever you want to do, it's okay. Anything else? Online, anything? No? Okay. So, one more time. We'll see you again at 5 o'clock? Okay. We have a little more than an hour. Have a party. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai.